I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk, where we ain't scared. My name is A1, and let me, as always, say thank you to everybody that supports this podcast. It is 2020, and we are doing big things. We're turning up the heat on a lot of issues concerning Black people, but in particular Black men. As a lot of you know, this podcast deals with a lot of subject matter, and we want another thought or perspective, meaning the Black male perspective, and how, at least from my perspective as a Black man, I think how we view and how we see things in the world, but in particular America. So, with that being said, thank you to everybody that has purchased their We Ain't Scared Talk mugs. Oh my God, I'm holding this mug in my hand right now. It is so beautiful. It is so strong. And it just makes me feel like a superhero every time I hold it in my hand and I take a sip. It gives me superpowers. Popeye had spinach, and now we have the We Ain't Scared Talk mug. Okay? All right. Now, also, quick feedback on the very last podcast I did, Why Are Black Women Scared to Criticize Oprah? I'm getting some good feedback on it. If you have not heard it, get on over to the social media pages and check it out. It's worth a listen. So, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. And it is, should celebrities, well, let me correct that. Should Black celebrities support Black Lives Matter before supporting homelessness? All right. Now, I always want to give some backstory on where these ideas came from. And I was online a few weeks ago, I'll say. And I saw an article about Will Smith. And Will Smith was talking about how the current homelessness crisis needs to be addressed, and how he was going to do what he could to lend his voice in that fight against homelessness. Now, juxtapose that next to his son, Jaden, who has delivered, I believe it's a fourth water filtration machine to the city of Flint. Now, it is 2020, and a lot of you know Flint has had no clean water since 2014, I believe April of 2014. And out of the 11,000 pipes that need to be changed or fixed or removed and replaced, they're up to, last count I want to say is about 6,000 or so, right around there. So they still have a ways to go. All right. Now, the homelessness portion. This is something that, of course, is a tragedy. Let me qualify this before I get into it, because I can only imagine people, oh, you're saying homelessness is not a problem and it shouldn't be dealt with. Look, homelessness is an extreme problem and it should always be dealt with. But like most things in life, it's about perspective. And I always like to go to the facts and put the numbers side by side, because you have the actual numbers of the issue or the problem, and then that's on one side, and then you have the emotions, okay, or on the other side. So let me just go ahead and jump into my notes. At first read, it's easy for some of you to think, if people are homeless, how can that not be a bigger issue than police brutality? And I'll say Black Lives Matter, before I continue, that they were created as a result of police brutality. So you'll hear me jump back and forth between using Black Lives Matter and the term police brutality, but it means the same, okay? And it's a fair question, let's be honest. And here are the reasons why homelessness is not a bigger issue than Black Lives Matter. And again, I'll interchange between Black Lives Matter and police brutality. So, the homeless population in the United States is 552,000. Okay, that's a fact as of 2018. You can Google it, okay? Now, we have a country where there's over 300 million people that live in the U.S. So when you put those numbers side by side, that is roughly, 0.25% of the total population of the United States, which is very small. Doesn't mean it's insignificant in terms of the problem, but it does mean that in terms of the overall number, it's a very small total. Now, some would or could argue even one homeless person is too many, and I agree. Not going to find any disagreement from me on that. It's a tragedy no matter how many people that it affects. But we don't live in a world where people care about that kind of reality. That's just a fact. Nobody cares that, well, it's only, it's this percentage and, nobody really cares. Okay? They don't stop at, if it's one, we all have to stop what we're doing and we got to help. All right, so number 2, there are over 42 million black people in this country. All right, so that's about 17% of that 300 million people that actually live in the U.S. And every single one of those black people are potential victims of police brutality. Every day, 42 million. All of them, man, woman, boy, girl, it does not matter because the United States has proven through law enforcement, and because it has murdered, it has killed, it has tased, it has harassed, it has beaten, it has traumatized every gender in the black community. So that's why I say 42 million are exposed versus 500,000 homeless. It's not even a question where the focus should be, especially if you're a black entertainer, okay? So again, when you place those numbers side by side, 500,000 versus 42 million, it's obvious it's not even close. Now, of course, there are people listening that might disagree, and you have a right to be wrong. Let's be clear. You have a right to be wrong. And I'll still respect you. And yes, let me throw this out there because I can hear people saying, well, black people are homeless too, A1. Yeah, of course, black people are homeless too. But in the overall list of being exposed to police brutality, again, the 42 million is the bigger and more important number. Yes, police harass homeless black people. Okay, yeah, they do. But again, the bigger number. I feel like black celebrities and people in general, they want to hide behind a cause or social issue that is non-threatening to the general population, or let's keep it real, they don't want to lose fans. I mean, a lot of this is about the bottom line. It's about the dollar. Their fan base, their, what they've worked hard to build, they don't want to jeopardize it. Homelessness is not getting people killed by cops, period. Being black in America is getting people killed by cops. And there's a connection between those people that support fighting homelessness and their support of law enforcement. Let me say that again. There is a connection between the people that support fighting homelessness and their support of law enforcement. I know a lot of people that say that they've donated to fight homelessness, and at the same time, they support cops. And again, because we're talking about black celebrities, I'm going to go back to Will Smith. He's a very good example of this, all right? But you don't see those same celebrities come out in support of Black Lives Matter and not support law enforcement. For me, when black celebrities don't speak out against police brutality, they have chosen the side of the oppressor. They have decided, again, that the fan base and the money that they are earning is more important than speaking out against murdering unarmed black people by cops. Now, keep in mind, it's those same black people that are or have bought tickets to see these black celebrities' movies. A homeless person ain't saving their money to go buy tickets to see Bad Boys. Okay? And again, while fighting homelessness on the surface seems like a noble effort, and it is not more important than giving a voice to the voiceless in Black America that risk their lives daily just to leave their house, get in their cars, and drive the streets in their community in a country that hates them. I mean, every time a Black person gets in a car and decides to take a trip, I don't care if it's around the corner to the 7-Eleven, they are putting their life on the line because all it takes is one traffic stop. And that's not an exaggeration. One traffic stop by a hateful race soldier, and they will not make it home. That is a fact. Homelessness, yes, it's a problem for sure. But like Martin Luther King Jr. said, Black people and white people are inextricably tied together. And as the life of Black people go, so does the country. So you cannot disenfranchise us without hurting or harming yourself. That's just the way it is. We are connected, and that was started by white men over 400 years ago when they traveled across the Atlantic thousands of miles to get Black people to do the work that they themselves didn't want to do. So, to continue, Black celebrities at times are no better than white celebrities that have chosen their fan base over their race. And that's the part that I always focus on. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care where you live currently. I don't care how many people like you. Black man, you are Black first. When your mama gave birth to you, she gave birth to a Black baby boy or a Black baby girl, period. But white acceptance in Hollywood has created a group of Black celebrities that are scared to be specific about where the real need is in this country. They've assimilated. Look, let me just put a sidebar here next to the word assimilation or assimilate. I realize that we have got to figure this thing out. I also realize that we got to work together. I also realize that Black people want to work things out. Black people have always wanted to live peacefully with our white hateful counterparts. We've always done that. But it's the white side of the equation that seems to always get jealous, upset, vengeful, hateful, and want to start a fight or a war with a Black person, country. So the assimilation factor, while it's unavoidable, understand, Black people were forced into this way of life in this country. And there's no reason, at least that I can see to date, that we want to start some problem with our white counterparts. It's the white counterparts that I say need to speak up and be more vocal. So to continue, Black celebrities want the support of the Black community, as in the Black dollar, but won't speak out about the issues that are important to the Black community, like not being murdered by cops for simply being Black. If Will Smith, again, I'm going to go back to him and Martin Lawrence. I know they have that Bad Boys 3 coming out, so it's relevant and people are thinking about it. So I'm going to keep that focus there. So, with those two, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I often wonder if there's a subtle conflict of interest between them and the Black community based on them both playing cops on the big screen. Okay, while at the same time witnessing the horrible unarmed killing of Black men by cops. I mean, there has to be something, I would think, that it creates some kind of conflict. Now, one has to wonder if the thought ever crossed their minds, like, they're pandering to the general public at the expense of Black people's safety. I can't imagine, how many Black men joined law enforcement based on their movies? Because, it's propaganda. They see two strong Black men on camera, bad boys, and they think, that looks cool. That looks fun. I think that type of propaganda has influenced some Black men into believing that somehow they can make a difference, only to find out the movie's different than real life. Of course, this has to happen. And everyone listening, my feelings about Black people being cops. I don't even think that's even a question anymore. No Black person should ever be a cop. based on their hateful history as slave patrol or plantation patrol. That's how cops got their start. You can Google that or research that. Black people are, yes, we're in a tricky situation. Because again, there are some that genuinely want to protect their communities. But the problem is this: the Fraternal Order of Police does not share that same mentality of wanting to protect the black community. They want to come in, they want to harass, they want to stop and frisk, they want to plant drugs, they want to plant guns, they want to arrest falsely. America has spent over $1 billion to imprison black people. There's states that, I think it was either Louisiana or Alabama, one of those, that falsely arrested 1,000 black men or black people. I mean, seriously, these things are happening. But black celebrities want to go to their support of fighting homelessness. Okay, while all this is going on in their community, and that's the part that gets me. Quick sidebar. That's the part that gets me. Black people in particular, I don't care what the day of the month or the week is, racism, poor race relations, police brutality, that comes up every single day in our life in some type of conversation. Whether you're at work, you see something on the news, or you're at home, you see something online, black people are constantly talking about racism, police brutality, oppression, systemic discrimination. We are talking about that every day. And just because non-black person, you don't have that conversation with that black person, it doesn't mean that those conversations aren't being had. And it's a problem when we don't discuss this with our non-black counterparts, because that's another reason why they think it's not a problem. Cops are threatened by black people that are screaming Black Lives Matter or hands up, don't shoot. This hypocrisy is beyond unforgivable, of course. And celebrities, black celebrities, that willingly choose to ignore this hateful double standard will no longer get my dollars. Now, my dollars may not mean anything to Will Smith. My dollars may not mean anything to Martin Lawrence. Okay, that's all right. But it's a personal decision we all have to make, and I can't continue going and playing both sides of the fence when it's convenient. Meaning them. I don't like the fact that they play both sides of the fence when it's convenient. You claim to be black until being black threatens your career, which is why I have so much respect for Chappelle. I love Chappelle because it doesn't matter to him. It is what it is. And white folks, you out of line. You treated black people terribly throughout history, American history, global history. And I'm going to make sure that you understand you out of line. So going back to Will, he's made more than enough money at this point. I think his net worth is $250 million. I mean, I think you can afford to lose a few white fans to help save black lives. When you reach a few $100 million in net worth, you can afford to say, hey, by the way, black life is important to protect. You can say something. So my question is always, how much money is enough before black celebrities speak out against police brutality? I mean, really, what's that number? How much? And so that I can bring balance, because I know people listening like, oh, there you go. You don't ever bring the balance. Look, I'm going to always bring the balance. Homelessness is a problem for sure, but it's an easy scapegoat social cause to avoid dealing with race and racism in America. Too many people are living in a world they wish it was like, instead of what it is really like. And they tend to do that when it's time to give black people love and attention. Sadly, I can't think of any prominent black celebrities that believe or support Black Lives Matter. I can't think of any prominent one, and that's scary. Okay, well, of course, Colin Kaepernick. But even with him, is he the only one? That's sad. We have enough prominent black celebrities where Colin should not be standing out there by himself. That the fear of it all. That's what irritates me. There are black people that are rich and poor that are scared to say Black Lives Matter because they are scared it will keep them from achieving something in America with 3Ks. This country has done a great job of brainwashing black people into having no pride in ourselves by being afraid to speak out against, again, police brutality by supporting Black Lives Matter. Is there an easy answer to this problem? No. Because it's too much of a personal decision with the individual. But I'm paying close attention to those black people that don't support Black Lives Matter because I will not be supporting them. You can't do what white people do and support black people when it's convenient and then turn a blind eye when we're being murdered by cops. To me, it's abhorrent. Homelessness is a worthwhile social cause. Let me just qualify that. I do believe that. You should fight it, but not at the expense of black life. My question to everyone that supports fighting homelessness is, do you also support Black Lives Matter? My instincts tell me no, that you don't. And then that leads to the next question of course, why not? What is so safe for you fighting homelessness over fighting to protect black life? And only you can answer that question. And I hope you think about that sincerely. Now, I'm certain you have your own thoughts on this, and that's great. Keep the conversation going. It's important. So I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk. My name is A1, and you got some good food for thought. Listen again. Tell a friend. We ain't scared.